Oh, and a piece of fertile ground.
See, it's all so easy, right? Welcome back home, Wizards. Eric Stromer, it's easy, isn't it?
Well, it's easy when it's in song form.
Sure, that's we should do our whole show in song form.
Hey, it's Home Wizards the musical. I can't wait.
And we got a number to put on. Hey,
I got a number.
You got a number. That's my buddy Eric Stromer. I'm Cindy Dole, where we love to help improve your home and improve your life. And see, it is easy. If you keep saying it, it will be. And so we want to help brighten your world. And with us is a guy who does it in spades, year after year, day after day, in people's yards. And Laramee Haynes, landscape designer, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Cindy. Great to be here. Hi, Eric.
Hi, Laramee. How are you, man?
I'm doing well.
We were just talking about one of your works of art at a previous showcase house, the martini glasses. So let's just set the stage. Now, I always love to not only look at the interior of the Pasadena Showcase House, but I pay a lot of attention to the exterior because I'm just a passionate gardener, and I love all the little decorative things that you will find that these creative designers come up with. And one year, Laramee Haynes had these super-sized martini glasses in your landscape. Now, talk about that because that was beautiful.
I did. There were several of them, actually. The theme was Breakfast at Tiffany's. And if some of you remember the movie with Audrey Hepburn, she feeds her cat milk out of a martini glass in one of the scenes in the movie. It's a quick moment. Many people haven't seen it, but that was part of the theme, is having the martini glasses for the feeding the cat milk. And
you had in these glasses, was it recycled glass of some kind that looked like ice cubes? I'm trying to remember what you had in there.
Yes, and then I had a fountain, actually, that was a little frog spitting water and spilling into one and then into the other, and it was a lot of fun.
And where did you buy these? Huge. I mean, these martini glasses were like, I don't know, 5 feet tall?
Yeah, one was about 4, the other one was about 2.5. I don't remember. They were online.
Hey, Laramee,
I was amazed to find them. I still have them.
Laramee, you bring up a really interesting point. You know, inspiration from art or from film.
And from movies, yeah.
How do you find inspiration over and over again to create new and exciting garden elements?
One of the things that happens in art, I've learned over the years, this is 11 years now I've been doing this, is to just listen to myself. Let things come into my mind, explore, and have the confidence to sort of chase down an idea. It isn't something you can push. It's something that just arrives. And you put yourself in the situation that you want to create something. There are certain parameters, like a movie theme, and then see where your mind goes.
I love the idea of an Audrey Hepburn movie scene.
Yeah, that year it was all movies. Each area had its own movie theme.
That's a really neat idea.
Hey, Laramee, that's a great bit of advice for any artistic pursuit, too, just to kind of follow your inner voice and have the confidence to stick with it, because I think people oftentimes get afraid and they back down, and then nothing happens. You're at a standstill.
Or you have too many inner voices, and then there becomes conflict.
Yes, that's called
exactly. exactly.
That becomes a whole nother show, but
Yes, it does. Sorry.
The voices are in my head. Laramee told me to listen to my voices.
You're just jealous.
Laramee told me to rob the 7-Eleven.
Bye, Eric.
Well, so let's talk about this year's Pasadena Showcase House. Give us a picture. I haven't been there yet. I'm going coming up this week. When you first saw the house, what did you see? What does it look like?
Well, it's a beautiful house in a beautiful setting.
In La
Cañada. It's on the Flint Ridge side. The back of the house has a beautiful view of the San Gabriel Mountains, just looking toward the north. It's just an absolutely exquisite setting and a beautiful house. Beautifully laid out.
Spanish style, right? 1920s?
Yes, and a very high quality, very well maintained home, too. The owners have taken excellent care of it. And they, several years ago, built a 18 by 30-foot greenhouse up on the hill to the right of the house as you're facing it. Very nice facility. And one of the options for spaces this year was to do something with that greenhouse as part of the landscaping. And I suggested that we do, rather than just a display space, but do workshops or programs, activity space, if you will, to show people how to propagate their own plants.
That sounds great. So we're gonna learn something in addition to we always learn at the Showcase House, but we're gonna take time out from the tour and get our hands dirty and listen to you talk to us for a little while.
That's the idea. I won't be staffing all the time, so there are some displays for people to learn from as well, and I'm going to try and have handouts. because I can't be there all the time.
Oh, come on.
But I have to make a living. You all understand.
We do. I know. But
hey, Laramie, when you have a large thing in your yard like a greenhouse, are you creating some visual element in addition to the greenhouse itself around it, or does that stand on its own and then what's inside is the thing?
Well, one of the things that was really terrific this year is Pacific Outdoor Living, which is a fairly large landscaping company here in the San Gabriel Valley, chose to do the stream and pond and garden around the greenhouse.
Oh, so again, it's a destination.
Yes, there's a beautiful stream that wraps around the greenhouse with 2 bridges and beautiful plants and a patio, and they've done a marvelous job of creating a setting around the greenhouse. So
yeah, because Eric makes a good point. You don't want your greenhouse to look like a mobile home in your backyard, right? I mean,
yes.
Although I hear that the greenhouse is becoming the woman cave. Hello.
It could be the man cave.
It could be the man cave or the woman.
Now.
Either way, it's a cave. I mean, it's
a cave.
definitely a place. Is it warm in there?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that's important about greenhouses is you have climate control, both humidity.
Oh, is it going to be bad for my hair though? Because I don't like humidity.
Your hair definitely.
It's going to go flat.
Yep.
It's not a woman cave then if it doesn't have good hair conditions.
I'm using it as a working space, but it's large enough and has enough bench space. It would be a lovely space to just take the center table out and put in some seating and go up and have lunch or have a glass of wine in the evening. And be surrounded by all those beautiful plants. There's different ways to use the space, and because I'm doing the workshops, I didn't do that. But there's certainly space, and it would be a lovely space to just sit and have a glass
Laramie,
of wine.
can I have a glass of wine at the lunch part?
Yeah, sure you can.
BYOB.
You gardeners love your wine,
It tastes better with a little soil in it.
Oh, boy. A little roughage, huh?
I think I have some mint in there, too.
God. So tell us, if we did want to consider making plants from plants, where do we begin? I mean, do you have to have a greenhouse to propagate plants?
You do not.
You don't.
Yeah. And that's something that's important because this is a very expensive facility. I don't know what it cost. It's several years old, but I see them advertised in some of the garden magazines for $25,000.
Oh,
and,
sure.
It's by the time you do all the glass and the climate controls, etc.
We've seen some at $5,000 at this garden show we attended. It was like a little mobile kit, if you will. But I can see them being tens of thousands.
Quite a lot.
Yeah.
But remember, all they're doing is controlling temperature and humidity, so there's other ways to do that, some of which I'm going to demonstrate. One old-fashioned way is by using a glass jar put over the top of a cutting. It's a very old-fashioned way to control the humidity. The glass holds in moisture, it holds in heat, it acts like a miniature greenhouse, and you were going to throw it away, so
and
it's
how
free.
long? But how long? Because I do that in my kitchen. I'll get an orchid, and then I'll put a glass jar over it, and you'll see the humidity, almost like little raindrops that appear on the inside of this glass.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But how long do you suggest that you keep it without air, without fresh air?
That is a good question. I usually set the glass on soil, so there is still some air transfer
Right.
Through the soil. But every now and then I'll pull the jar off, maybe once a week or so.
So even though the soil is helping, you want to just kind of expose it to fresh air and then put it back in.
Yeah,
well, that's
exactly.
a good tip. Okay.
Plants need carbon dioxide, actually. We need oxygen, but for their respiration, they do need to have some air circulation. You are correct about that.
Thank you.
But there are techniques.
That was a win in the win column.
You bet. But there are techniques, there are plants that are less touchy than others, easier, as you were putting it earlier.
Easier to
grow.
To propagate.
Yeah.
So what are the easy ones?
Classic ones, all the succulents, for example, are very easy to grow.
As my dad, Lucky Chucky, would say, you cut off the yucca and you ram it and jam it.
So the Ram It and Jam It Club
he would just take it and ram it in the soil, and he is being joking. Ram it and jam it. There you go.
Toss it out the window at high speed and watch it root on its way to the ground.
But isn't that true? Many of the succulents?
There are, and so don't discount those if you like them, if they're plants. Many of the grassy plants like daylilies, agapanthus.
Agapanthus. Ferns.
Bearded iris. These are things that are very lambs here. All the ground covery things that root as they go along. you can cut out little pieces of them and propagate them.
Oh,
that
Eric,
way.
you need to do lamb's ear for willow.
I'm going to ram and jam some lamb ear.
So any succulent, but then lamb's ear isn't a succulent, is it?
No, these are all the grassy things.
Grassy things. Okay.
Many of you know agapanthus,
Of
or
course.
lily of the Nile. That's a very common plant that has the blue starburst flower.
It's everywhere. It's on all the islands driving through it.
Don't ever buy that.
What? Don't buy it?
Dig it up and divide it.
Yeah.
Take some home.
Exactly. While
With
you're
permission.
while you're at the stoplight, get out of your car.
And not at 7-Eleven either. So.
So again, Lance, his inner voices told me to steal plants.
Yes,
from my
I knew
neighbor.
this was coming.
Come on, Laramie. All right. Well. So
Yeah.
it's easy to do,
Yes.
and if we don't have a greenhouse, we're going to need a glass or several glasses of some kind. And
Actually, the plants I just mentioned to you, you don't need the glass.
And what
Yeah.
about the soil? Is there a special kind of soil that you use for propagating plants that's better than planting soil, right?
Again, it depends on the plant. Some things really just don't care very much, like the succulents, all those things that I just mentioned that you can divide, like daylilies and agapanthus. You can use regular garden
They're just
soil.
happy to get some attention. They're so low maintenance.
The easiest way to propagate plants is by division. Anything that you can pull apart that comes with some leaves and some roots, you're going to have easy success with that. So any plant that allows you to do that pull apart thing is a good candidate, and you're likely going to have success if you care for it as you would care for any other plant. Enough sun, enough light, enough water.
Well, the fun thing about this is you're producing more plants inexpensively.
It is the
especially
ultimate
right.
green
It's a
hobby.
freebie,
Yes, it's
and
the
you can then
ultimate green
share.
hobby.
Like I could share some of my iris with you, and you can share some
Exactly.
succulents with me, and we'll get some lamb's ears from Eric, I think.
Yes.
I got him.
I better check where he gets them.
All right, well, coming up, we're going to talk more with Laramee Haynes about making plants from plants. Why not save some money and spread more of the beauty in your yard? Home Wizards continues as we love to improve your home and improve your life. Call on in your chance to see the Showcase House on us. 888-539-2980. 888-539-2980. We're back in a moment.
I'd like to be under the sea.
Yeah, I think that's my buddy Eric Stromer's one of his favorite garden songs. Wouldn't you say, Eric? You like
Yes, the sweet
Anyone
sounds
wanna
of
go
Al
dun,
Jarreau.
Bum, 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 bum. I know. We love to put a smile on your face as we talk about all things home and garden and life improvement. And thanks for hanging out with us. Eric Stromer, Cindy Dole here, and we are so excited because the Showcase House is just about here. I mean, it's there. It's been there since the 1920s, but I mean, it's almost open for us to go see and enjoy and learn from it. And so we enjoy every year, Home Wizards, to spend several weeks really getting a good preview so that when you do take the tour, you go, oh my gosh, that's what they were talking about. And then it just kind of all comes together and means so much more, we think. So with us is Laramee Haynes, a terrific landscape designer who has done it again. And his space is outside at this 1920s home in La Cañada, the Showcase House of choice, the greenhouse. So Laramee's, we're just getting to how we propagate plants. In other words, how we make plants from plants is going to be kind of a show and tell at the Showcase House in this greenhouse.
Exactly. A little different. It's an activity space instead of just a display space this year. And we're going to be showing people how to grow plants from division, as we talked about before, where you pull them apart, and also from cuttings, where you take a piece of a plant and put it in some soil, keep the humidity high, and let it naturally root. That's a little more complicated. And then seeds. Also, we all know about that, planting vegetables and fruit and so forth and flowers. So, yeah, it'll be a fun space and activities instead of just display, although there's some beautiful plants in there as well, some orchids, many flowers.
Well, let's break some of the myth first, because when you say the word propagation, even the word, it just sounds scientific, complicated. It's a turnoff, frankly. It makes you feel as an everyday gardener that I don't have time to do that. But I know that you're going to empower us and say, hey, don't worry, little fella. You can do it, right?
Absolutely, yes. One of the things that's amazing is how easy some of these plants are to propagate. And as I often say, knowledge makes all thumbs green. And so just learning the recipe, learning a little bit about how to do things and how things work can give you a lot of fun, as well as a lot of plants, and save you some money and really enjoy your garden that much more.
And a fun thing for Eric to do with his kids. Eric, I bet you could do this with Willow, and she would love it.
Yeah, and hey, Laramie, will you walk me through, just because I'm sort of a dullard, like a simpleton, if you will. Tell me how, for example, the glass container over the soil. Give me exactly what I would buy today to do that.
Sure, be happy to. So that's for cuttings, the divisions, cuttings, and seeds that we're talking about. Cuttings where you're taking a piece of a plant, usually close to the end of the stem, and just cutting off a piece of it, putting it in some soil that's nice and moist, and then somehow controlling the humidity with, as I mentioned before, a glass jar is one way to do that. So what you would want to purchase is some sterile soil. And all soil pretty much in bags is going to be sterile. So something like cactus mix that's a little heavier, won't dry out too quickly. And you take your cutting, there's a thing called rooting hormone that you can buy at the hardware store. It's in the garden section. And you dip the end of the cutting in the rooting hormone, push it into the soil, put the glass jar on top. So the only thing you really need to buy is the soil.
And maybe some good shears.
And the rooting hormone. Yes, and you do want to get a good clean cut, because if you imagine plants have vascular tissue, if you will, like soda straws all bound together, if you cut it with a dull knife or a dull clippers, you'll crush all those tubes. And what that does is keep it from being able to absorb water as efficiently. So you do want a nice sharp cut. Dipped in the rooting hormone. That helps stimulate the buds that are naturally in that stem to produce roots. And you want to keep the humidity high with the jar, because the leaf is not able to pull up water as quickly because it doesn't have any roots at that moment. And so that high humidity keeps the leaf from drying out and wilting.
So, Eric, I just wanted you to note that he said rooting hormone, and it really is wine. He's getting back to wine again. He's got a thing of wine.
What are we rooting for now?
Is there a certain angle with which that we are to cut to help with the cutting?
There is, if you do something along the lines of 45 degrees or slight angle. The most important thing, though, is a clean cut rather than the angle. And by far the most important thing is the humidity control, so somehow keeping that leaf from drying out.
So Laramie, am I going to mist occasionally underneath the glass and then put the glass back over?
Right, that is how the commercial growers do this, and of course they do it by the millions when they're producing plants. They have whole big greenhouses that have a misting system in them that periodically sprinkles, like once an hour or once every half an hour. Right. They'll do a misting type thing, as well as fans, as well as light. It's a whole big process, but you can do it all with a jar. In many cases, depending on the plant. If you choose one that's a little easier to grow than others, some of the easy ones we mentioned, succulents, those you don't need a jar for. Geraniums, any of the sages or salvias. One of the easiest plants to grow is boxwood, interestingly enough, by cuttings. It's easy. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Some of you know that.
Oh, I love that. We have that in our garden, Eric. It's the one where it has 3 shades of purple. One is almost like a violet, almost whitish, and then a deeper lavender, and then a plum, if you will.
It actually starts out the dark color, fades to the lavender, and then fades to white.
And it's so charming. And so you see all 3 colors at the once, and it's great.
And then the shears, Laramie, what am I getting exactly?
Yeah. What kind of shears?
It doesn't really. Actually, some people just use a sharp knife. What you don't want to do is use scissors, because scissors kind of have a crushing effect. So you want just a sharp knife with a cutting board even will do the trick. It's not necessary to buy a pair of expensive shears, although that will help go more quickly. But
and how long of a stem do we want? When we're cutting, are we thinking like just an inch or two from the bud? Or
now is when it gets a little complicated, because it depends on the plant. And what I suggest people consider doing is learn a half a dozen plants that they really like, and look online, check out books, go to classes, go to my workshop, things that are easy to propagate, and just make sure you always you know the recipe for those. We don't know how to cook everything, right? But we have a body of recipes that we all like to use, we all enjoy. So maybe a dozen or so plants that you've learned the recipe on how to grow those things, and that's great. That just adds a lot to your garden, a lot to your life, saves you some money, rather than trying to learn 100, because that's when it gets complicated.
So we're getting the cactus soil, the rooting hormone, the glass jar of some kind.
And some plastic pots usually good because they're not going to dry out as quick.
What
as
about
a clay
egg
pot.
cartons? Could we use egg cartons?
They're going to dry out too fast.
Not good, okay.
Yeah, and you
Some
want
plastic.
something that's a little bigger. Ideally, you've got a pot that's bigger than the jar that you're putting over it.
Right.
So the jar fits into the soil. That way you can water around the outside edge of the jar.
Oh, got it.
Between the pot and the jar. That way you don't have to lift the jar off to water. That keeps the stem dry, so it's less likely to rot. Because rot's the big problem with all of this this activity, both seeds, divisions, and cuttings, but particularly cuttings are susceptible to root rot problems. So if you can water without lifting that jar too often, you're likely to keep things cleaner. That's a good point, too, is keeping things super clean. We talked about the sterile soil. I always bleach the pot before I put the soil in, and I always bleach the bottle, too, 10% bleach, rest water, and just rinse everything out so that it's all super clean. Take your cutting. I even dip the end of the cutting in a little bit of bleach before I dip it in that rooting hormone, and then pop it in the soil and put the jar right over it. And it's almost like canning that way. You're keeping things really super clean, and you'll have better success that way.
And then how about when we go to seeds? Is that more advanced? Is that like the next level?
Seeds is the easiest, actually.
Really?
Seeds and divisions are easy. Yeah, remember, seeds are designed to grow. They're Mother Nature's little packages for producing plants. That's why that's so successful and so easy. If there's anything that you do in your garden for propagation besides divisions, do seeds.
But, I mean, how are we getting seeds from our existing garden?
Seeds, it's best if you buy them.
We buy
actually.
the seeds.
Yeah, I would, yeah. And many of us see those big seed packet displays in the hardware store, and maybe we're a little intimidated by that. Don't be. Have some fun. It's only $3 for Renee's garden seeds, or $2 for the other stuff. I've got a whole bunch of seed flats that I've produced this year that are part of the greenhouse, just to show people you can grow some of your own flowers. You don't have to buy flats. Of course, all the vegetables, tomatoes, you don't necessarily have to buy little plants. You can buy one packet of seeds and produce 30 tomato plants that you can share off with your friends, and at far less cost. The other thing is you'll find a lot more variety in seeds, too, a lot more flower colors, a lot more different types of vegetables. There might be a half a dozen or a dozen types of tomato, but there'll be lots more than that.
We just need to be patient is the trick, because...
now's the ultimate ingredient. When it comes to propagating plants, it's
the other P word, it's patience.
Yes, it's the patience person's hobby, yes.
Well, Laramee, we're going to have fun. We're going to see you at the Pasadena Showcase House. What is your website?
HaynesLandscaping.com.
And that's Haynes. And we'll see you in the greenhouse from time to time.
I'll be there.
When it opens up.
Wait.
Yeah.
Now, when are you going to be there? Because now I have a feeling of separation anxiety. I have to have you. I can't have some other person.
Just listen to those inner voices. You'll be fine.
Laramee, I think it's going to be a fun project. I think it's a good family project, and it's a great way to save money and get in touch with nature, the science of nature, and feel confident we can do this. All right, we're going to do it. We're going to send us your pictures when you do this and what we've all done, what Laramee has shown us. All right, the fun continues. We're going to name our winners to the Pasadena Showcase House coming up, and then we're also going to talk with our friends at Better Homes and Gardens magazine. Eric, they just did a survey, and they found some very encouraging things in terms of what we want to do to our homes.
I think everything's going upward, don't you?
Things are going up. I mean, hey, we got seeds, we got cuttings, things are going up. Home Wizards, Eric Stromer, Sidney Dole. The fun continues after this.